This is Jim, Matt, and Molly. No, Molly, she's out with babies. I'm Jim Rutledge. He's Matt Hamilton. We're in the Everlight Solar Studio. We are presented by Coors Light. Primetime Watershine with us as well. You can see us on the ESPN Madison YouTube page as well. I want to get back to our Siding Unlimited poll question, and we'll get back to your calls and texts. But I teased it before the break, and I want to then pay off that tease.
Nice.
And,
well done.
Yes.
Using that big J of yours.
Yes. And let's hear Jordan Love, who spoke today with ESPN.
I think we have a wide or a deep receiver room. Obviously, like you mentioned, Tucker Kraft. But I think we got a lot of guys that can grow into that role. And I think we're still young. We're still building this thing. And guys are still proving themselves. So, Josh, he made those comments. And, I'm always right for my guys. I love the guys we have. I always say, if you add good players to an already good offense, I think, you can make it a better team.
So
Absolutely.
a potential number one wide receiver that could be available in free agency, T. Higgins, what would your thoughts be on adding him to your already talented roster?
Yes.
Like I said, T's a phenomenal player. Yeah. I know T pretty well. And, like I said, if you add a really good player to a really good offense, I think the sky's the limit. You could take it pretty cool.
Very political answer from Jordan Love.
Yeah.
So
he towed that line nicely.
We're gonna play that audio a few more times, obviously throughout the show, Mr. Matt Hamilton. We will chime in initially. You can chime in 844-770-3776 on our Siding Unlimited poll question. Again, that's our Carbless Talk and Text line. List is more at 844-770-3776. But I do want to look at this poll question. Who handled the situation on Super Bowl Radio Row worse, Josh Jacobs or the Packers wide receivers? Right now, 55% of you say Reed and Wicks. So, Matt, we'll revisit that, but you can chime in on that again. But I do want to ask you, what do you think of Jordan Love's comments? Do you think he agrees with Josh Jacobs? He obviously towed a line, but the answer to me was pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think he agreed with Josh Jacobs in that fashion. Like, first of all, Jordan Love ain't going to say, no, I don't want a number one wide receiver from another team. We've got one already. Like, he's not wrong when he says when you add a good player to an already good offense, and that those are his words, not mine, that they're going to be elevated. I think Jordan Love did a good job of sidestepping the question a little bit, making sure that he praised his guys, but also didn't rule out the idea that getting another guy is going to be helpful regardless. So when you say it like that and you say that adding another guy is going to make an already good offense better, I think that's Jordan Love just saying, yeah, we could use another guy, but if we don't get one, I'll survive.
844-770-3776. That's the Carbless Talk and Text line. List is more. We are asking you who was more in the wrong, Josh Jacobs or the Packers wide receivers. Reaction to Josh Jacobs' quotes about basically saying they could use a number one. Jordan Love was asked about it with ESPN. You heard Bourbon Street a little bit in the background here. And if you're just tuning in, we'll play the audio for you again in a second. But before I hear it, my first blush at it, Matt Hamilton, was that Jordan Love wants to agree with Josh Jacobs, but Jordan Love understands he's a quarterback of the team, so he went a little bit more political. But reading the tea leaves, and you're a fan for a long time, and we've all been covering this stuff for a long time, when someone goes this political, it means they want to say yes, but they don't want the backlash for the yes answer. Let's hear Jordan Love again on with ESPN.
How do you see this young group, and are there advantages in not having a number one?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think we have different guys that can play and do different things better than other guys. And I think we have a wide or a deep receiver room. Obviously, like you mentioned, Tucker Kraft. But I think we got a lot of guys that can grow into that role. And I think we're still young. We're still building this thing. And guys are still proving themselves. So, Josh, he made those comments. And, I'm always right for my guys. I love the guys we have. I always say, if you add good players to an already good offense, I think, you can make it a better team.
So
that's him saying I'm not opposed to another guy.
That's him saying, yes, I absolutely want a number one wide receiver, but I know the Packers and the odds are against us going to get that guy, so I'm not going to burn my room. I'm not going to burn my guys for that.
100%.
Yes, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that answer.
I love the way he answered that.
That was
perfect.
A good job by Jordan Love answering that question. And I think, do you think there's a chance that this is strategic by Josh Jacobs? Where he says, you know what, maybe I apply a little pressure to the Packers front office.
Pressure.
Now, I'm not saying it'll work because maybe he doesn't understand Goody just likes to live in his own little draft cave. But, like, maybe Josh Jacobs is like, well, if I put it out there and then Jordan Love gives the political answer of yes, but with like we're good, but more is always better.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a very political answer from Jordan Love. And again, the answer he should give. And then if you get a couple more guys, if they're asked about it, and they'll be like, yeah, I mean, of course, more good players are better. Maybe it creates a little bit of pressure on Goody to be like, hey, not only do the fans want a number one wide receiver, but the players you are paying to play football for you say you're not doing your job because these guys that you drafted, your beloved draft picks, ain't it. They're good players. They're not Devontae. They're not T. Higgins, which we all can agree that they are not that.
At the very least, I hope that this, and again, we know Goody, so who knows what he ends up doing. Most likely trying to find a player in the 5th round. That said, I do think that those comments from both Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs should light a fire under their butts. It should make Reed and Wicks think, hey, if the most effective weapon on our offense says we don't have a number one, let's prove him wrong. And when our leader, our quarterback, our main guy who runs the plays and calls the plays says that, sure, we could be better if you added another player, because I always say, add a good player to a good team and you'll get better. Like, that should motivate you. That should be something you're like, you know, if we don't add another player, I still think we can get better, and I'm going to show you. So, like, if they took it the way I would take it, as somebody telling me I can't be a number one, you better believe the next day I'm going to be doing everything I can to try and prove Josh Jacobs wrong.
So, Matt, I like your take, but I also take umbrage with it because it's concerning then. Like, what the hell have Jaden Reed been doing? And as Lando and Tosa calls them, Drop TV and Wicks, what have they been doing otherwise that they needed a fire light under their butt? And I understand in curling it's a little different because you could.
Well, you don't have the competition in the room. Like, one of them knows.
These guys are young players. These guys should be trying to like that. To me,
I totally agree. But when you're given the position of number one and number two wide receiver, it can go to your head.
So I look at it as not, and this is so I'm not viewing it as a red flag. They're not good enough. No matter how hard they work, they're not going to get there. But that, to me, is not a red flag. They can still get better. But in the NFL, which I think is different than other sports where, yeah, you could work the heck out of it, Jaden Reed is under 6 feet tall. Steve Smith is basically the only guy who is under 6 feet tall who is a legit outside receiver number one guy. Like, that's it. And if you want to say Wes Welker is the number one with the Patriots, fine, that's two. Like, guys under 6 feet aren't it. Droptavian Wicks or Dontavian Wicks, however you want to call him.
Well, see, drops to me are something that you can work on.
But he's dropped for his entire life.
Oh, I get that, but that doesn't mean you just. It means there's one glaring problem with it. Like, drops are something that I feel like can be practiced and you can get better.
But he's a 5th round pick because he dropped. He hasn't climbed up the roster because he's dropped. This guy should have had a fire lit under his butt at some point. He's 2 years pro and multi-years in college, and he's the same guy.
And that to me is he hasn't done anything to change his work. Drops are something that can be taught.
But it's more than
knowing
drops.
how to run a route and knowing where the soft spots are in the defense. That is just kind of knowledge that you have or you don't.